If your blood runs orange and blue, this is the pod for you. You're listening to Orange and Blue Bloods, hosted by EJ Stewart and Tommy Beer. Let's get to it.
So we're gonna shift gears here and wrap the show talking about the man we should be thanking for Jalen Brunson becoming a New York Knick, and that is Rick Brunson. At least that's according to Mark Cuban, who is in defensive mode as questions surround how the Mavericks went from being in the Western Conference Finals last season to fighting for the last play-in spot this season. By the way, a play-in spot that Knicks fans should be hoping they get too, because we talked about that last episode about the draft pick. Right now, they're tied with OKC. If they could pass OKC to get back to 11. Anyway, he said Jalen Brunson's dad, Rick Brunson, is the reason that Jalen Brunson is no longer in Dallas, that he's a Knick. Speaking with reporters in Dallas earlier this week, I think it was Wednesday, Cuban said negotiating with Brunson, quote, went south when Rick took over, when the parent took over, or parents took over. Cuban rejected the notion by Jalen and his father, something we've heard oftentimes by Rick Brunson, who is the assistant for the Knicks, assistant coach. They both had said that they went to Dallas and said, hey, we'll sign for 4 years, $55 million last year. Cuban says that's not true. He even was reading texts to it sounded like a very weird gaggle. He was apparently reading texts between his agent, or Jalen Brunson's agent, and the Nico Harrison, the general manager of the Mavericks, but they were going back and forth about what Rick Brunson was demanding. Apparently, he said that Jalen's going to get between $18 and $23 million next season. So he was trying to debunk the idea that he was willing to sign for 4 years, $55 million. He also says that he was never given an opportunity to actually offer Jalen Brunson a contract this summer. He says that the Mavs never got the offer from the Knicks in terms of what it was, or at least Jalen Brunson's team didn't tell him what the Knicks offer was. And that he says that had he known what the Knicks offer was, that he would have, quote, matched it in a heartbeat. So, Tommy, is it fair for Mark Cuban to blame Rick Brunson for losing Jalen Brunson?
Listen, I'm not going to pretend to know what the internal dialogue between the agent and the father and the player and the owner. Bottom line, they dropped the ball. Listen,
yep.
there in as bad a way. I mean, there's fumbling the bag, and then there's fumbling the bag. I mean, these guys had Jalen Brunson in-house for 4 years and couldn't keep him. Listen, forget about January. Why didn't they sign him to an extension the year prior?
Right.
The summer before, they had 3 years worth of data, 3 years worth of knowledge, locker room, and if you, listen. So again, did they wait? Rick Brunson and Jalen have both gone on record saying they were willing to sign a 4-year, $55 million contract extension. Essentially, Cuban's got to call them liars to dispute that. And apparently, he showed text messages, and I again, Brunson was a second round draft pick. He had never had life-changing money like that. His father was a journeyman point guard. He had never had life-changing money like that. Dude was coaching high school a couple of years prior to the situation. So you put $55 million in front of somebody. That hasn't made that type of money. It's going to be difficult to turn down. It makes sense. It was the same exact situation with Dorian Finney-Smith. They held off on it right up until the deadline because they wanted to see if they could move him in a trade and contract-wise. The other thing working against that, Cuban's argument is if you thought that you weren't going to be able to, or if flat out the Brunsons told you we're not signing that extension and we're going to become an unrestricted free agent 4 months from now. There's a guy in New York that's, the godfather that is very close ties. And even before Rick got on the bench, I'm talking about Leon Rose's presence in New York.
Yeah.
In other words, when Rick's signed to be an assistant coach under Tibbs, that wasn't the first time we had heard, hey, maybe Jalen Brunson might sign with New York. This thing was in the works years ahead of time. If you didn't think that if you were told that if they flat out told you we're not signing an extension, then you got to trade him at the deadline. And again, recoup some assets for a player that's very valuable. Again, the whole situation is weird. I don't know what happened. But Cuban has got to take a hit here. Because we've seen the Mavs, where Knicks fans are all Mavs fans. Good win, by the way, on Wednesday.
Yes, shout out to Kyrie Irving. There you go. That boy.
Way to
come through, Kyrie.
I don't know why these haters are always knocking you for your be a free thinker, bro.
Yeah, the peasants and the peons.
Yeah,
show them.
These morons. They need to do more incense around the court. Like they don't understand what it's like to be a real player. Yeah, listen, I mean, where the Cavs are now, where the Knicks are now, it's an incredible storyline. So Cuban, the Mavs franchise, Nico Harrison, everybody deserves blame.
Yeah, I tell you what, I was lucky enough to actually get official word from the Dallas Maverick fans when they heard about Mark Cuban and Rick Brunson being the reason why Jalen Brunson left. Here is what some Dallas Maverick fans had to say.
We do not care.
That was not a Dallas Maverick fan. That was my Tomlin. But look, I wish I would have got a small violin track to play under this, because this was like, this was embarrassing. I'll be honest. Like if you're a Dallas Maverick fan, like that was pathetic. I mean, it was the dog ate my homework. It was he told us he would sign, and then the dad got involved, and great job of the reporters said, all right, well then why didn't you trade him? They're like, well, we thought we could change his mind. So wait a minute, how could you say you never had a chance to sign him and then say, well, we thought we could change his mind? Clearly you thought you did have a chance to sign him. So which one is it, Mark Cuban? So I mean, this was embarrassing. This is a owner / he also works very tightly with the front office. He's not GM, but this is an owner who is, built a championship roster. And to hear him groveling over someone's dad, it sounded like an AAU coach or a high school coach that, lost his best player on some shady stuff, and he's just blaming the parents. Like, this is the NBA, and Cuban really went into this bag. I mean, I felt like it was beneath him. I know he's someone that's not afraid to speak his mind or not afraid to sling shots, but I also thought it was a little classless because of Jalen and Rick have never, besides saying that they would have signed for the less money, which makes Dallas look bad, they have not said anything bad about Dallas at all. They have not badmouthed them in any way. I mean, Jalen Brunson's like, if you ask him anything that's not related to the Knicks winning that night, he gets very defensive. He doesn't like to talk about anything else. So that also kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because it's like Jalen has not really done anything outside of that, just confirming what his dad said, that, I would have signed for the 4 years, $55 million, to then have you come out and say that essentially he was a liar. Like, to me, like if I was players on that team, if I was people who worked, in terms of signing deals with Mark Cuban moving forward, I would look at this and kind of look sideways, saying like, hey, like, are negotiations now just open game for you to just talk about, how things didn't go well if they don't go right for your team? I mean, didn't this kind of thing happen also with DeAndre Jordan when he, didn't get DeAndre Jordan in the Clippers? He was saying, oh, they locked DeAndre Jordan in a bathroom or something, and they wouldn't let us get in there, and it was Blake Griffin. Like I don't know why Mark Cuban goes to this bag to kind of like explain his failures in terms of building an NBA roster, but this ain't it, man. This was I thought really low for him.
It's a really good point on Brunson, especially too, because he brilliantly follows the Derek Jeter school of dealing with the media, star New York athlete dealing with the media. And Brunson's nowhere near the level of popularity that Jeter is, but he says a lot that means absolutely nothing at all. We'll never give an opponent a good quote. We'll never give a beat writer a juicy tidbit, not behind the scenes, on the record, nothing. Like, he's just a bland, boring stud point guard, and that's everything you could hope for. If you're a real fan of a team, is a guy that answers all the questions and deals with the media professionally, but makes it really hard for them to do their job being stir up controversy and, some members of the media to generate interest. So yes, for that point. And also and on a related note, a lot of players not named Jalen Brunson would have had a lot to say and would have had a lot to tweet, whether it's, innocuously or serendipity, like there would have been a lot of eye emojis, and pointing to the Mavs record or, hey, like what's going on? I haven't checked the standings in a little while. Stuff that could be interpreted as they let me go and what happened. a lot of players put in the same position where they leave a team that had went to the Western Conference Finals and the team falls through the ceiling, and they join a team that had been in the tank for 2 decades and now they're playoff bound. A lot of players would have had a lot to say. Brunson has never badmouthed anyone in the organization, so I thought that was odd timing and odd context, to say the least. One last thing on the Mavs, I'll say. I would have, you asked me a couple days ago or a week ago, or the day they made the Kyrie Irving trade, I would have said the worst possible scenario is the Mavs miss the playoffs. Just could you imagine the day? I would have said that. No. Now I know the worst possible scenario for the Mavericks is to just miss the playoffs with Kyrie having some great fourth quarters and saying, we're going to do whatever it takes to sign him, and signing Kyrie Irving to a 4-year or 3-year contract extension for Warmer, giving him anything, again, because if you miss the playoffs, oh my God, that's a nightmare. But at least you learned your lesson in the short term. You let Kyrie walk. You use that cap space that you created in the deal to to sign a different free agent or trade for a different point guard, because now you're $30 million under the cap. You can absorb salary. You just give a lot, the worst thing that could possibly happen to the Mavericks is them fooling themselves that Kyrie Irving doesn't say anything or do anything stupid for 6 days in a row and plays as he's capable of playing. And now they're lured into signing him to a long-term extension. And now they have linked him to the hip of Luka Doncic for the next 3+ years, which greatly increases the chances that Luka Doncic leaves Dallas in 2027 or whatever the first year he's eligible. I will, if the Mavs do that, what can I say? They traded for him, so I can't say it's impossible, but I would just be flabbergasted.
I tell you what, I mean, Cuban, maybe, again, this is not someone who plays it close to the vest. I mean, we saw what he talked about with Jalen Brunson. I mean, the way he was talking in this same press guy, he sounded like they're going to sign Kyrie Irving. Now, he didn't say how long or how much money or how many years, but like he said that they want to keep him. So, and to Kyrie's credit, all of his teammates have said he's been great. There's been no problems, and I'm sure there's not, because he's trying to get a contract. He doesn't want to be an issue. But yeah, if they fall for the banana in the tailpipe, then
my goodness,
that would be a disaster.
Kyrie wasn't causing problems when the Nets went 19-1 or whatever it was.
That's the thing about him, right?
For 2 months, and then he said, "Listen, give me all my money." And they said, "Well, wait, we're not quite okay. I'm out." Like this is ridiculous. Something's gonna happen. Come on, bro.
You never put your eggs in the Kyrie Irving.
No.
But
especially when you have a generational talent like Luka Doncic, like you have a guy, like you have the guy. Don't bring that thing into the mix. Oh, anyway.
Lastly, it sounds like we just got word from Rick Brunson, who is now commenting on Mark Cuban's comments regarding him being the reason why Jalen Brunson left Dallas. Let's listen to Rick Brunson.
Shut that soft ass shit up. All that soft talking. I know you can do it, man. You got the. Man, shut that soft ass shit up. Shut that soft ass.
That was not Rick Brunson. Sorry, everybody. That was actually Adrian Broner. I'm sure Rick Brunson knows. Look, Rick Brunson played in the 90s. Rick Brunson played with the 90s Knicks. I'm pretty sure if you asked him off the record what his response would be to Mark Cuban, I think that would pretty much be his answer. I'm almost certain. So,
what Rick Brunson would do is he would point at the scoreboard being the standings, and be like, "How's my kids' team doing now, and how's your team doing?"
Yeah, exactly.